So let me ask you this. I know you say I could ask you anything, but we will take this off of this. Yeah, but let's because sometimes I mean I ask a good question, and this is what I'm thinking, because I've spoken to other women here, and then just hearing other people speak. When a woman is being abused physically, beaten up, and again, this may sound like a very stupid question. Why don't you just leave? And I know that I'm simplifying it.
No, that's a good question, because that is asked a lot. Excuse me. Because you try to forgive them the first couple times, and you think, okay, maybe you did it. Women have a bad habit of always wanting to take the blame. I used to take the blame. I thought, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't have said anything. You know, because what would happen is he would come in drunk or high, and I would say something about it, and that was always my mistake. That's what I would tell myself. Well, you should have never said anything.
Wow.
And so when they would get angry and decide to knock you around, you're thinking, okay, I deserve that. You know, I should have kept my mouth shut. And then before you realize it, then you're scared to leave because they threaten you. You know, if you leave me, this is what's going to happen. Or you worry about how you're going to support yourself, how you're going to support your child. And so a lot of women stay just for that reason, because they're scared. They don't know what else to do. I didn't know what else to do. It took meeting another man to finally, you know, leave and escape that situation. But then I turned right around and into that same boat. You know, I ended up marrying somebody who also was cheating on me. And that was when I had my second child. But I just don't pick them right. I'm just telling you, Rob. It's
well, in the past. In the past.
But, you know, I'm learning.
Yeah. And again, it's in the past. And again, to go back to my question, I want to make sure it doesn't come across. When I say, why don't you just leave? I've heard that so many times, and I know there's a reason. So I'm so glad you explained that.
Cause they're afraid. A lot of it is fear. And I will be honest with you, most women, and I've learned in communicating with women like me, you know, who have been through similar situations, because you also, is that for you?
No. That's okay.
You know, because along with rape comes domestic violence, and I've worked in both positions as far as volunteer. And the biggest problem that we tend to have, they don't have enough confidence that they can take care of themselves. So they worry that if I leave, how am I going to feed my kids? You know, how am I going to support them? And that's why it takes counselors like me to show them you can do this. You know, you can get a job, you can make money, you can do, you know, I did it. It wasn't easy. I worked 3 jobs to put myself through school, you know, and it was hard.
So I had asked about why don't women just leave, and again, I'm simplifying it, and you explained it very well. But there are women today that they're having a real hard time. They're being abused, and you explain why they don't leave. What should they do? What's the one thing? What would you recommend to a woman who is?
Well, I think the women that you probably are referring to are women that have not had a good support system in their life. They haven't had anybody to build confidence in them, self-esteem.
Yeah.
I realized as I got older, I became more confident in being able to leave. When my youngest son's father was caught in bed with one of my friend's daughters, I had no problem picking it up and leaving because I was confident, and it was because I was educated then. I started building a career, and I realized I didn't need this in my life, and I was worth more. And I think what happens is women tend to undervalue themselves. They tend to not realize that they matter. They matter a lot. And it's because they haven't had anybody in their life support them and show them their value. And so that's why I think it is important that they seek counseling. Even if they have a best friend, you know, talk to them, because maybe the friend can refer them to someone. But it's really important to encourage people to open up and talk.
Yeah.
You know, that's what helps save them, is talking.
Excellent. Talking about sex trafficking, because that's such a huge topic now. Are there any signs that children give? So if you have a nephew or your own child, well, that's not sex trafficking, your own child, but if you see a child in school or in your neighborhood, are there any signs that people can see that this child maybe doesn't belong with this family, if it's a fake family, or as far as these houses that have
You mean in other words, identifying a victim, maybe?
Yeah. I don't know if that's possible.
One of the things that they tend to look for, and I have worked with underground crime units. In fact, I even actually portrayed a 12 or 13-year-old girl for them so that they could trap a pedophile.
Wow.
And because just to get the experience. And but the one thing that we have found, that you've heard of the Stockholm syndrome.
Yes.
That happens a lot with kids because they, at a certain age, are still at that point where they can be molded and they can be trained and they can be conditioned. And these people that are doing this trafficking, they know how to condition these children. And so what you have to watch for is minor little things like, are they wetting the bed? Are they tend to be depressed a lot? Do they tend to not laugh a lot? Kids generally, if they're being held, they're usually not allowed to get out and play much with the neighbors. And there's a reason for that, obviously.
Yeah.
So if you see a home where the children tend to be isolated, that's a good sign. Generally speaking, they make them stay within their own playground, their own yard. When they go to the stores, they are taken and basically almost like they're handcuffed to the person. They don't want them communicating to anybody. And so if you can visualize something like that, even when you're in a grocery store or a Walmart or somewhere, and you notice a child is not smiling, maybe is not happy, and not to the degree that, some kids, they're not happy because they just got punished for doing something. But the key is if they tend to be withdrawn, if they tend to be in a situation where the parent or whoever is making them stay very close, kind of watch it and see how they're acting, and then watch them going out the parking lots into the cars, and that's how they find a lot of these, and it's obviously kids that are disappearing from the schools. That's one lead.
Yeah.
You may have a child that's been going to the school for 3 or 4 years, and all of a sudden they disappear.
Yeah. We
We have over 800,000 children a year disappear in this country.
800,000?
800,000 kids disappearing from this country every year. That's why Sound of Freedom, their goal was to sell 2 million tickets because that's how many children are still missing.
Oh my God.
Wow. They sold over 10,000.
10,000 or 10 million?
10 million.
10 million.
10 million in tickets, yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So they're making a difference. But there's just little things you notice. And I think what helps is if you have been in a situation of abuse, you tend to know the signs. Like I know I can look at another person and just spend enough time with them, say 20 or 30 minutes, just in a basic general conversation, and I can tell you if they're abused or not, just by their actions. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, let's close out with this because, again, your attitude, who you are, I never knew any of this about you, and I knew you. Not until I read that story. And a lot of people have gone through half of what you've been through, and their life is, for lack of better words, messed up, right? And understandably so, right?
Sure.
And you gave some really good information today, but you did mention that your faith, was there a point in your life, and you may have said this already, I apologize, that made you like kind of just turn and say, okay, this is it? I bring this up because I spoke with a few other people, and several of them said the same thing. I just finally said, God, your will, not my own. That was their phrase. Three separate people.
Well, it's going to sound kind of creepy, but I was pregnant with my second child. I've had 3 pregnancies and only 2 live births.
Okay.
I was pregnant with a second child because I was raped by my ex-boyfriend that I had the first child with. Anyway, make long story short, I started going into labor. I was about probably 2.5 months early. I was hemorrhaging, and when they took me into the emergency room, I could hear the doctors talking about, if we don't do something quick, this girl's not going to make it. And so that was what started the C-section. And, you know, they wanted to take me in and do the C-section and get the baby. But something, it was like an epiphany. I don't know what you'd call it, Rob, but, you know, I knew I was dying. I mean, I could see, you know, I was dying. And this was before the kidnapping. But it was like there was a voice that came over me and said, "You're not ready yet. It's not time yet." It really did. There you go.
Wow.
I'm still here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. At the end, right at the end of the video, I'm going to put stats on. I'm going to put the stats about sex trafficking, because I was blown away yesterday when I saw the movie, and they gave some of those stats. So if you don't know about it, you will after you see this.
And we appreciate people like you spreading the word. Keep it up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Hey, you're welcome. Cheers.